Yeah, yeah.
I'll get used to it. The screen sharing, I don't have anything particular in mind. I just thought I'd try it out. Since I'm not showing my face, I might, during the conversation, I might come up with something interesting
Draw something.
to share, to draw, to exactly. So at least I have something to
Right.
contribute.
I play Tetris while we talk, and I always consider
I get
sharing the
work done
Tetris.
sometimes, a little bit.
Right. So I shared this video about potential possible end for the U.S.-Israel special relations. And I thought it's interesting because the video articulated multiple reasons for why the relation might or should end, both from an American and from an Israeli perspective. Obviously, it very explicitly didn't go into the many good reasons for both sides why it should continue, because those, I think, sort of are obvious to the intended audience. It's the reasons why it should end that were more novel. But I think we have a great opportunity because, as I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bar is an Israeli patriot and Gil is an American patriot. So we can hear each of your each of your thinking about the various reasons for why the relationship should come to an end.
I
Yeah.
think, well, maybe it's obvious to anyone in our circles, but it seems pretty obvious. First of
Why it
all,
should end?
sorry, say again?
You're saying it's obvious why it should end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the pros are basically, for Israel, is money, and the pro for America is money laundering and information.
Right. What are
We
the
like to call it intelligence.
Yes, intelligence, yeah. Jews have a lot of that.
Yeah. For Israel,
what
it
are the
would
negatives?
be.
Well, money.
I mean, that's why yes, why we want, uh, why we like to. It's also a diplomatic cover, and it's also like a security cover. Like people assume that if you attack Israel, America will attack you, which is really nice.
Yes, that's also true. I will also say it's also a security cover for America if they want to do actions here that are would be frowned upon by their citizenry. They can just do it through their proxy of Israel.
Yeah, Israel. And like lots of Americans say, oh, we're fighting wars for Israel for free, but I think it's much more correct to think of it like Israel is just an American military base that is independent.
Well, that holds if
Yeah, yeah.
the object, if you discount the fact that the reason Israel's enemies are America's enemies is because of the relationship, of the special relationship. If it weren't for the special relationship, the nature, the priorities that America associates with its various enemies might well change. And we might find that America is more focused on the Far East or South America than it is on the Middle East.
I mean, America is the world hegemon. They control every part of the world, basically. So they have military bases in Germany, and in Ukraine, and in Israel, and in Djibouti, and in Japan, and in Korea. They have all of those. The only place they don't need to have military bases is Israel, because Israel has their own military bases.
Yes, but why would they need? They do have military bases in Saudi Arabia and in Qatar. Why would they need a military base in Israel?
They don't, because Israel is there.
No. But even if that wasn't the case, why would they need a military base? They don't have a military base. They don't have a lot of military bases in Portugal or in Luxembourg or in. They don't have military bases in every country. The military base in Israel.
The world island.
Sorry?
It's like another direction of attack. You have Saudi from the south, and you have, like, right now you don't really have anything from the north, which is a problem. But you have Israel from the west.
Right, attacking whom? Against whom?
Well, right now it would
Whoever.
be
No, 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 no.
Iran,
It's not
Russia,
whoever, it's the
China.
geography. The geography is important, and I'm trying to understand which country, which potential enemy of the United States is Israel a strategic, would be a strategically good location for attacking from?
Uh,
Geography is not my
Iran,
strong suit, so I.
Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon are Israel's neighbors.
and
None,
Iraq. Iraq is pretty close, right?
Iraq is pretty close, but Iraq is also very close to the Gulf states, right?
To south. I mean, I'm not sure. Wait, let me. Could you bring up a map?
Yeah,
There we go.
there we go.
Yeah.
So, Iraq has a long border with Saudi Arabia and a border with Kuwait.
Wait, you're not showing us the map. What's the point of the screen?
Oh,
share if
sorry,
you're not
you're
showing
right.
us the map?
Oh, pardon, I was looking at a different tab.
A different screen, I assume.
A
Yeah.
different tab. Hold on. Right. So let's get. Right.
We're
So,
looking at the wrong direction. Okay.
okay. So, Iraq has a long border with Saudi Arabia.
I need to stop.
Hold on just one second. Okay, guys, continue be without me. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll just note that in response to what he was saying, the border with Saudi doesn't really matter. What matters is the American bases. And they have a base in Bahrain, which would give them access like closer to southern Iraq, but western Iraq is closer to Israel. And they also need Israel for Syria, for southern Turkey, and if they ever want to go with Russia from the Caucasus, Israel would be the best access. But beachhead. That's, if you want to go and occupy, that's called the world island. Geopolitical theory that whoever controls, basically it's Afghanistan. Whoever controls
Okay.
Afghanistan, like, controls the world, because you can access every part of the world from there, and that's partially why they called it the graveyard of empires, because going off of that geopolitical theory, both
There's so many
Rus-
fronts that they have to defend from, is it?
it's because like there is like this belief that if you, like, for instance in chess, usually you like play for the center of the board. You want to control the center of the board because that gives you the access to the most locations most easily. It's most efficient in terms of location. That's why, like, the British tried to conquer Afghanistan during their empire, and then the Soviets tried to conquer Afghanistan, and then the U.S. was in Afghanistan for a while. But basically, you just want to get control of the center area, and that would be the most important. And the best way to do that would be to like surround it. So you have your friends in southern Middle East, but then you also want your friends in the western Middle East as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about because, well, it's true that Israel would be bigger. Israel as a country is bigger than a single military installation of the U.S. would be. It is a small country. I suppose it's functional enough. I do think the most the U.S. gets out of us is information and technology development.
I mean,
we're very
yeah,
good
but
at both.
It's like it all comes down to
Or they're very good.
information in the end. But it's information that our spy networks provide the U.S. It's information that we acquire from research and development into all sorts of things, specifically into weaponry and combat stuff. And it's information
Yeah, so weaponry and
about
combat stuff.
American weapons. They don't get a chance to try them out. Israel tries them out. Israel does all the quality assurance for American weapons.
Right,
So,
right. I've heard that
that's-
before. Gaza is the testing ground of American weapons or something?
Yeah, it could be. The video that Dad mentioned in the beginning, it mentions this, that like there's a conspiracy theory how America wants to keep Israel at war all the time, so that Israel keeps testing American weapons. and wherever.
There's something to the idea of, well, you want sovereignty, right? You want to be able to go to war if you ever need to. And the only way to make that realistically possible is to, without completely financing it through the government, is to constantly sell arms to the rest of the world so your industry keeps developing and maintaining itself.
Yeah, it's a form of hard soft power, basically.
Yeah.
There are many mechanisms.
Or soft hard.
Or soft, it really depends. But there are many mechanisms. It's very complicated, the whole geopolitics game.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, actually. But it's not for us. We're libertarians. We don't play that game.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what is the point of being a libertarian? The point is to create a good society, right? And if it's necessary to
Right.
create a good society to not be a libertarian, then I won't be a libertarian. That's it's
I
all of
think-
these theories and ideologies are meant for something.
Well, there's like a trade-off here. The reason that we have principles is because our principles create like the best conditions. But if we only do what creates the best conditions, we're just utilitarians. We don't have principles. So, like the reason, what makes principles better than utilitarianism is that sometimes, even though you believe that something will be more beneficial, in the long run, it's beneficial if you always respect this or that principle. Just like
I
long
agree,
run
but
thinking.
it's like the paradox of tolerance. It's at a certain point you have to not tolerate behavior that creates it impossible to tolerate behavior.
Yeah, that's an
So,
internal
if-
conflict. I'm talking
Yeah.
more about like an external. For instance, I had this argument about marriage. Where everybody always
With
says,
your
all
wife?
the couples I always argued with would say, hey, why would I need to get married? If I love the person, I'll just stay with them forever. And if I ever want to leave them, then I wouldn't want to be married in the first place.
That's so modern.
Yeah, but my argument is always, you want to be with them forever right now. You know that you want to be with them forever. So put walls in place, put blocks in place to make sure that you do that. You know that one day you'll have an argument and you'll be tempted to leave. So make it harder for yourself, because in the long run, you know that's what you want. So that's the same with
Yeah.
principles. Like we could go with each case and decide, okay, we shouldn't initiate force in this case. And if we initiate force in that case, then this person that we're initiating force against won't respect us next time that we want to do this or that. But it's much easier on the brain, and it's much better in the long term to just say, okay, I'm not initiating force at all. That's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easiest.
You
but
know,
it's like,
Right. I agree with what you're saying. It makes me, sometimes I wonder if I'm being hypocritical. Or like, there's this song I really love, What a Fool Believes, or something like that. It's a smart man, if you're smart enough, you're able to create any sort of justification, is basically the premise of the song. And shoot, I should look up the lyrics. But anyways, it's I wonder if sometimes I say I'm sticking to my principles, but I'm not sticking to the bureaucratic letter of the law. I'm more sticking to the principle, the spirit of the law. So, for instance, leftists like to use the letter of the law against right people because right people are very sticklers to the rules, right? So they change language to make it so that a word becomes the same word as like asking for an assassination, but they know that asking directly for an assassination is illegal. So they just make up these new terms, and then because it's a new term and it doesn't mean what the original term meant, supposedly, but it has the same meaning, but it's not the same word. So
Wait,
the meaning
what-
stays the same, but the letters are different.
what
So it's-
specifically are you talking about?
The whole he's a punch a Nazi. This is human beings are animals with very consistent behavior patterns, and when you can train a human being like you can train an animal. And if you say it's okay to use violence under these circumstances, and then you say, look, it's those circumstances, it's not such a leap to say you're telling me to use violence right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. They go about it roundabout, but that made me think
Yeah.
about this argument that I had about like the big difference between Judaism and Christianity being that Judaism go by the letter of the law and Christians go by the spirit of the law.
There's something to that actually. Go ahead and expand
Well,
on that.
then I was the only Jew in that discussion, so it was very big on, oh, but that's inferior. Of course, the spirit of the law is much more important than the letter of the law. But the point I didn't think of at the time is what we got from God was only the letter. What we have preserved is only letters. The spirit you don't have. So we can't sanctify the spirit because that's like your opinion, man. It's not like what we got from God.
Right. Yeah, and you know, God actually literally says that the heart of man is deceitful. And that's actually a lot of the premise of the story of Pharaoh. You know, God hardens his heart. You know how when people are wrong, they double down? That's
Yeah.
literally the premise of the story of Pharaoh.
There
And
was,
this is a true fact that everyone knows about people. And, you know, they know it about themselves and they can see it. And this story symbolizes it in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, exactly. When you're the wrongest, God hardens your heart. There was a discussion in Israeli Twitter. People are very frustrated with the Iran deal.
Yeah.
And they were saying, oh, but maybe Israel attacks here, but no, that looks really bad. And maybe America attacks here, and no, Trump won't survive that. And the guy in the responses said, but don't worry, God has our backs. We'll be okay. God will handle it. And the original poster said, what God's position here is to harden Pharaoh's heart, so that Iran does something stupid, and then we can go back to war.
That might actually be true. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I don't know, I've not looked too deeply into it because I've been busy with other stuff, so I haven't been following the news as closely as I usually do. But it sounds like the Iranians are being disrespectful, but maybe that's just because I have a lot of hawkish people on my feed as well, so I'm hearing that perspective from them. The other people are saying basically, what do you want us to do? We can't literally destroy Iran, so there's no other alternative.
Yeah, unless
There's no middle ground.
That depends.
What's the alternative?
I don't know. You remember the Beeper attack?
Yes, that was impressive.
Yeah, I would never conceive of that. I don't know what Mossad has up their sleeve. I don't know what's going on underground. But yeah.
The thing about that sort of thing is that it takes a long time to facilitate and like only a
true.
minute to come to fruition.
Yes, and it should have been much larger. Apparently, the plan actually failed. They were about to be found out, so they had to explode it early. But they were going to do it much bigger in time.
I see.
But
Interesting.
yeah, so on its face, it doesn't seem that there is any real solution. But it could be that, like, on the down low, in between lines, we're actually smuggling lots of weapons into Iran and strengthening the rebels and all sorts of things like that. There was also a theory that I heard where Israel wanted to attack during the protests in January. And then the U.S. didn't allow it because they also wanted to participate. And by the time they got into positions within 2 months, it was too late, and then it couldn't work anymore.
I see.
And there is
That makes
another
sense. It does take a long
argument
time to
against-
get into position.
Yeah, I mean, carriers take a while, and they're
Yeah.
really far away. And then in Israel, we just use planes, which is really quick for everything. We went by so many subjects. I had so many things to add to each of them. I forgot all of them.
Yeah. I will go back to Christianity versus Judaism because that is a point of contention in our household.
Oh yeah, Omer is very anti-Christian.
Well, I
He's
guess, yeah.
pro-Jewish.
You could say. He likes Protestants. He just doesn't. He doesn't like Catholics.
Yeah, no, Protestants are cool.
Um,
But I can't.
yeah.
Well, I guess that what bothers me about, well, what bothers me about Catholic is that Catholics are like the leftists and the authoritarians and the anti-Semites, and Protestants are the cool
Yeah.
one. But I think maybe it comes down to like the central authority in their government, in their religion. Like the Protestants have, sorry, the Catholics have the Catholic Church, which is a centralized like organization, whereas people like the Protestants or the Jews, for that matter, are decentralized, and maybe they have more. Islam. Islam isn't really centralized. You could say Shia Islam is centralized in Iran, and Sunni should be. Like they have the infrastructure for authoritarian for centralization in their holy writings, but they just don't have the central authority right now. But in Protestant
Yeah.
and Jewish theology, it is by definition decentralized. So I guess that's why we get along.
So the thing about okay, so right now it's similar like to a government in the sense that if you don't have authority from within, you need to have authority from without. So because people don't have self-discipline and honor, holding them to certain standards, they have to have external standards that they're held to.
You know
So right
Alex?
now, What do you
know
mean?
Alex from the Free State? I was at one
Which
of
Alex?
the
I knew a few. I knew a few Alexes.
I
from
don't
the
know
Free
if I
State.
want to say his last name. I don't want to. Maybe I don't. Maybe
What does
doesn't
he
want me
do?
to
How do you
quote
know him?
Like I met him at like a dinner at the inn. I
Is he a
forgot the
tall,
name of the-
autistic dude with a girlfriend, or
No, I didn't see his girlfriend. Might even be. I'm not sure. Anyways,
it's a
he
different
told
Alex
me
then.
the line where when you have monarchy in the mind, you can have anarchy
Mm-hmm.
outside. Or when you have anarchy in the mind, you have to have a monarchy outside.
right?
Like
Yeah, basically. So
yeah.
people don't have any discipline or structure in their lives, so they're looking for the church to give them like these behavior patterns to create structure in their lives. So like going to church on Sunday, you need these daily or weekly rituals to create a structure, because otherwise, I mean, it's like Jordan Peterson always says, you can't be creative without a border.
Oh yeah.
So,
Exactly.
like, you have to
Something you
have
can build
when
on.
when you tell someone draw something, like your mind can go everywhere and it's chaotic. But if you tell them draw fruit, there's literally an endless way to draw fruit. But at least you have where to go. You're
Yeah,
aimed at
you
something.
have something to coalesce on.
Yeah.
I think that like the point about monarchy in the mind versus on the outside, it really goes to like the way that Protestants and Catholics differ. And I think that's why.
So when the Quakers and the Yankees came here, they were incredibly disciplined. They like went to church every day for like 6-7 hours. They were burning each other at the stake for every little mistake that the other person did. There was a lot of social accountability, and now there's zero social accountability. So you have to have some sort of reins to hold people together with. And the
that's
Protestants are
actually a
doing
good
their like
argument. That's actually a good argument for the Catholics against the Protestants, because now it's the former Protestants are now the craziest. The people who were Protestants and are now atheists, like former Calvinists are the woke. All that what you describe right now, the Puritans, they were all over like New England, and now New England is like the woke capital of America. But you could say that
I was gonna-
while it was there, while the generations that had the internal discipline, they could do great things. But since they don't have
Yeah.
any outside force to keep them accountable, they could like really let loose. They could like go all out.
I do think it's a little unfair to blame. I mean, okay, so obviously, it's like the eternal lesson of the Bible for Jews. It's like you're gonna have a good time, and then you're gonna stray from God, and then you're gonna become corrupt, and then You're gonna fail, and you're gonna cry out to God, saying, "Why have you forsaken me?" And then God will be like, "Bro,
No,
you betrayed me first.
Yeah.
But I will forgive you if you stop being a pussy." And then Jews stop being pussies again, and then the
Is that
cycle
written
starts over.
down? Whoa, that's so beautiful. Did you like just come up?
Yeah, word for word. Yeah, so the structure is gonna fail, and it's gonna become corrupted, and then there'll be a renaissance, and things will get better, and then it'll start degrading again. But I will say that
Did
the
you
Americans
read
lasted quite a while.
Yeah, it
Sorry?
was nice. Did you read The Fourth Turning?
Yes. Thank you for the recommendation. It's a good one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was going to say about the former subject about like the discipline, how when you're a kid, um, like your parents don't let you eat candy, and you always think, oh, and when I grow up and I can do whatever I want, I'll eat as much candy as I want. But the whole point
Right.
of the reason that you can do whatever you want when you grow up is because you learn that you shouldn't be eating all that candy.
Right.
It's only when you realize why you shouldn't be doing the things that you really wanted to do when you were young that you're able to do those things because you have like the foresight or understanding of why those things shouldn't be done.
Yeah, and so this is why it's unfair that Americans are like in the position that they are. It's not entirely their fault. It is external forces like the Soviet Union corrupting the universities, and the public schooling being such a horrible mess. And I do see a renaissance of homeschooling. So that's
Yeah, for sure.
might be like basically the main reason why America survives, if people start homeschooling.
There, something is going to survive. They're not all going to die like literally.
No, of course, of course. And I
It's
don't
go-
even think we're that close to the edge or anything. We do have a lot of immigrants that are like, obviously, by definition, they are different because they are like have a different culture and they come from somewhere else that had developed different cultures. So by definition, it degrades the culture.
Yeah.
But in New England, actually, the crime rates are incredibly low, and there's something frustrating about. I mean, the cops go around looking for reasons to arrest you because they don't actually have anything to do, so they're bored.
have quotas.
So they like stake around the corner to stop you when you drive
Yeah,
5
I
miles
recently
over.
got a fine from a cop waiting by a stop sign, which he knows everybody ignores. But that's why you always stop at a stop sign, because there is a cop on the other side of that stop sign for sure.
Not in Texas.
Oh, no, I can't wait for Texas. I was just,
Yeah.
I think that we're going to settle on an apartment. Probably tomorrow. We already set up a date to go sign the lease.
For how long?
And the old tenant is leaving for Austin.
I am jealous.
Yeah. Pretty close. Not exactly close, but pretty close. We sent her to go eat somewhere that we really like.
Where?
I meant you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. We
Uh,
got there in the end. But she's pretty talky. I don't know if you'll like her.
yeah, we'll survive.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
There's a really big Jewish/Israeli community here. So it's
In Austin?
Yeah,
It's a big city thing.
it is, but it's also a growing city thing. I think Jewish people are very nomadic, so they do tend to more easily get up and move to the place of opportunity. And Austin is the fastest growing city in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken.
It's called Ruthless Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitans. Yeah.
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 I
There's,
think it's
there's an
in-
element of truth to every stereotype.
Yeah, it's true. You know that I don't know who said this, but apparently, like lots of anti-Semitic stereotypes arrived in China and Japan very early on, and that's all they knew about the Jews, that they're trying to control the world. and but the
Okay.
Chinese and Japanese thought that was really cool. When they first visited Israel, they came in with like a very ornate version of the protocols of the elders of Zion. And showing it like, wow,
Nice.
we appreciate your work. It's very beautiful, kind of. Yeah. So
I
you
mean, it's
could-
really cool. I mean, I was looking
Yeah.
up at Jews in China. We were even successful and became one of the rich people there. So,
That's funny because Chinese are also middleman minorities in lots of places.
yeah.
Imagine what Jews
But we're
would
the
be
best.
if there was like a huge China of Jews somewhere.
Sorry, say again?
Imagine what the Jews like, because the Chinese are middlemen minority, right? They
Yeah.
operate like the Jews of Southeast Asia, basically.
Yeah.
But they also have China, a whole country of Chinese.
Yes.
So what if instead of Russia, there was Jewistan and everything there was Jews? Which, by the way, did you know about the Jewish oblast in Soviet Russia?
No, what's that?
There's an oblast. There's like a federal. You know that Russia is federal, right?
What does that mean, federal?
It means that it's made up of a bunch of territories that have like an agreement to work together. Like the U.S. The U.S. is federal.
Oh, it's a federation. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a federation, exactly.
Okay.
And one of those was named the Jewish Autonomous Oblast. It was originally meant for Jews to live in. And
Okay.
it didn't, I don't think it worked out very well.
I'd imagine.
But I had arguments online where people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have gone to Israel. You should have just like used that as your like home state. We would now be living
I mean,
under Russia."
why not Uganda? I mean, there's
there's
go ahead.
I had this discussion in the past because lots of people argue that we wouldn't have this fight. We wouldn't have this conflict if we were in Uganda, and I agree with
that's not
that.
true.
I
You would have a different conflict, not this one, but yeah.
I don't believe that's true. I think that the only reason that we're having this conflict is because of Arab Muslim pride. They can't accept that a part that was once Arab Muslim is no longer Arab Muslim, so they won't give up ever. Ugandans,
Yeah.
we would have like some tensions with them, sure. But I think that they would just give it up by now, realize that it's best for them to not fight, and we would have peace by now. But lots of people who don't accept my interpretation of why this conflict is lasting, they would argue that we would still be in a conflict. And the people in Uganda are, some of them, lots of them, are Luos. That's the tribe my wife is in. So if we were in a conflict there, we would have like a Romeo and Juliet situation, and maybe we wouldn't be. It would be very
That would be
unfortunate.
cool.
Or very
Yeah.
romantic, one of the two.
Right. So I was being a little racist. I just assumed that somewhere in Africa it would be Muslim as well, which is why there would be a conflict as well. But if it's not Muslim, then yeah, I guess there wouldn't be as much of a conflict.
I mean, I would be also assumed. I realized that like Taliban
Your audio is a little weird.
Muslim, but they're actually really successful. They're like really doing well, and they're now Israeli allies, which is really interesting. One of the
That's cool.
That's one of the coolest things I think that Israel geopolitically did recently, because I was thinking that Somaliland deserves recognition for a while now. It's like one of those rare places where recognition isn't given even though they really deserve it.
I don't know enough about it.
Well, you should find out. Well, you'll find out soon. It's going to be like the next big thing.
The Riviera of the Middle East.
Exactly. The Oman.
Right. Do you know Magat Wade?
Magat.
It's a lady,
The African
it's a lady's
capitalist chick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you know where she's trying to create these free city kind of projects, right?
Yeah, I think she's left African, though. That's not my
Sorry?
side. I think he's Western
Okay.
African.
Okay.
It's a thing. Well, I still can't tell the difference, but Levine is very racist toward Western Africans.
That's fair.
Even though like it makes more sense because like Africans have more diversity than the rest of the human race combined.
Yeah.
So they can tell the difference between each other, but it's funny because we
course,
can't
yeah.
tell the difference at all.
I'm sure over time you would be able to. I can kind of, sort of tell the difference between Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can see. No, I can't see. I can't see the difference between.
Neither can they.
Got was that Japanese people are much more similar to each other than Chinese people are. Like the genetic diversity of
Okay.
Japanese people is very small. But that doesn't
Okay.
help me figure it out. There are still Chinese people that look exactly like Japanese people.
Right. I think the Koreans are easier because they're all modified now.
And if they have like superficial, if they had surgery, they're probably Korean.
Well, yeah, and the chances of them having surgery is like 1 in 3 or something. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's like being called Kim or Park.
Right.
Every park has a work done. But no, what was I gonna say?
I do want to go back a little bit to the Christianity versus Judaism thing, because Omer would
Hello.
have an issue with, hey, I was just saying, Omer would have an issue with saying that Christianity honors the spirit of the Judaic law better than Judaism does, and versus like the letter of the law. So I always think about the story, there's the story of Jesus picking some food or something on the Sabbath, and the Jewish people, Pharisees, that's their name. Okay, so the Pharisees tell him, "Hey, bro, that's not cool. It's the Sabbath," and he's like, "Don't you understand like the order of God or something?" And he says that they're corrupt. Now, if it's true that they told him to not, pick the food on the Sabbath, he basically says the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath, and which is true. But it is actually a Judaism thing. Like there is like the hierarchy of order of goods, and human life is the highest order of good. So there's these hospitals, these private hospitals. Jews tend to have like. You know how everything in New York sucks? So the Jews came up with their own private ambulance system, and they work on the Sabbath. They
Ambulances work
still
on the
drive
Sabbath.
people to the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
pikuach nefesh.
that's just and if the Pharisees were genuinely, if the story is true, and the Pharisees genuinely told Jesus like that to not pick food for the hungry on the Sabbath, then they were corrupt, and he was right, and he was a good Jew to call him out on it. So it is actually in
saw
keeping with
video.
Judaism.
I saw a video. It was a short clip, but it was like summarizing that there are lots of books on this, explaining why Jesus was definitely a Pharisee. And one of the quotes he has is, "Do as the Pharisees say, just don't do as they do." Like they are corrupt, but they're right about like the law. That's correct. And the other arguments are that he was a zealot, that he was even more extreme than them about like obeying Jewish law.
One point is that what we know as Judaism, with the whole discussion about Jesus and Judaism is a bit anachronistic, because the sentiment, for instance, that life is more important than the Sabbath is a Talmudic one.
Yeah.
And Jesus and came about hundreds of years after Jesus.
No,
If
it's
you
the
look
oral
at the-
law. Oral
Yeah,
law
yeah.
existed
So-
before the written law.
No. Yes, but the written, might be the tradition, but the written law, or say oral contracts are not worth the paper they're not written on. What we know is that Jesus is roughly halfway between when the Bible was the legal text of the Bible were written down and when the Talmud was written down. In the legal text of the Bible, very clearly, people who work on the Sabbath need to be killed. So the idea that life is more important than the Sabbath is a later creation. And when that creation came about and when it became part of Jewish law, thinking of Judaism as if it has like a central truth that has stayed the same from, 600 BC when the Bible was written all the way to today is, I don't think that makes much sense. I think Jewish moral sensibilities have evolved over the centuries. And so judging Jesus by the standards of the Babylonian Talmud that was written 600 or 700 years later makes very little sense.
First of all, you added a few hundred years there.
No? Did I?
Yeah, I think it's like around 500. I'd say 500 years later.
Okay.
But also, the Talmud has lots of prescriptions for death penalties that modern-day rabbis don't take literally. So I guess you could say it's continuing to progress in the direction of taking things more figuratively.
I don't. Okay, so I'm much less knowledgeable.
Familiar?
With Judaism than Omer is, but I've had these arguments with him before, and I also overhear, when he listens to rabbis talk and stuff. So it's from my understanding, Judaism actually did not change very much at all throughout its whole history. And look, again, maybe I shouldn't speak on a subject I'm not as familiar with, but that's the argument I hear. Judaism is the word of God, and they're taken seriously and throughout all of history. And a lot of the things that are supposedly strictly written as this crime deserves this punishment, it's it must be. For instance, witnessed by two impartial witnesses, and it's up to the discretion of the judge. And there's a lot of leeway in these things, and it's not as strict as the text maybe sound sometimes.
But what you're describing is later generations creating loopholes in the written Torah, right? So the Torah law is very clear. The fact that later generations have created loopholes so that the law doesn't have to apply doesn't mean that at the time that the Torah was written, that law wasn't taken seriously and literally.
Yeah, but it also doesn't mean that it was.
Right.
No, compare it to the U.S. Constitution. Do you think the U.S. Constitution has stayed the same for the last 250 years?
I mean, it has, but people have chosen to interpret it differently. Like you're saying, it happened also in this case. But in the case of Judaism, lots of things got more stringent. Things are
Absolutely. I mean, for instance, kashrut laws.
Yeah.
If you read the origin of kashrut laws in the Torah, it's very narrow.
Yeah.
And it was greatly expanded. So I think it goes both ways, but the main point is that it evolved and continues to evolve.
Well, you could say that, but you could also say that's not true.
And I mean, just because people are corrupted, I mean, it could be that Jesus was the good Jew in that interaction, and just that the Pharisees were corrupt. And the Bible's whole premise is Jews are going to be corrupted at some point, at some time, and then they're going to repent and then come back.
Yeah, that's what every prophet for Judaism. Every prophet was the only righteous person, and the entire society was corrupted around them, and it was their job to reform them. That's how it.
That's the point of a prophet. Yeah.
I also saw a big compendium of all sorts of Talmudic laws that people followed the scripture for Jesus and saw that he followed them. So I don't know if everything in the Talmud was already practiced during Jesus' time, but lots of it was.
Right, and lots of it wasn't. So, even during Jesus' time, right? There wasn't a single sort of Jewish law or Jewish morality, right? Judaism has always been diverse, certainly has been diverse by Jesus' time. Even the texts weren't quite stable, right? Texts that were found from that period show variations. When it comes to different sects have interpreted Judaism differently at the time. And I don't think the Platonic ideal of, Jewish law, unless you're a religious Jew, unless you believe that, the oral Torah was given from God to Moses and from Moses to the sages and to the rabbis, and there is an uncorrupted, unchanging, eternal morality that has passed from God all the way to the chief rabbi of Israel today. Unless you believe that, then you have to admit that there have always been multiple streams within Judaism. I mean, today there are multiple streams. There are the Neturei Karta, who think that Israel is an abomination. You have the people who think that Israel is the beginning of the Messiah, and you have the vast majority of world Jewry that doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
Right? Jews are less likely to believe in God than I think most groups in the United States, for
Other
instance.
than former Protestants, which brings us back to that.
Right.
So I think there isn't now, and there has never been a single Judaism.
Again, you're just going back to, just because the Jews don't follow the laws are always the same. I mean, the laws there are 613 of them, and they've always been 613 from the moment Moses got the laws, and they've always been the same. And it's just a matter of, are the Jews listening or not? And of course,
No.
when laws contradict, there's hierarchies of value, and the hierarchy of value that's
No.
highest is.
But you talked about interpretation, right? So again, let me draw an analogy to the U.S. Constitution. The Bill of Rights had 10 amendments, and they have been the same since the 1780s or 90s or whenever they were passed until today. But obviously, how they were interpreted, how they were applied, has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't? And if that changed over 250 years, what makes you think that Jewish law were
Wait.
10 times as much hasn't changed?
No. I'm not saying it's people's behavior has not changed around. The written word of the Constitution is still written the same, right? It's in a museum somewhere. It's got the same letters.
That's why we were
order.
arguing earlier about whether it's better to follow the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. And I was arguing that Judaism follows the letter of the law, whereas Christianity tries to follow more the spirit of the law. And my argument for letters is that letters don't change. Letters stay the same no matter how long has passed. And I also wanted to add the argument that you made about the Constitution, that though the government doesn't follow the Constitution in the way that we believe that the Founding Fathers intended, there are many people in America who do believe the Constitution in the way the Founding Fathers intended. Just like you might say that there are some streams of Judaism that diverge, there is probably lots of Jews that operate the same way that Judaism has always been practiced.
Oh, no, there are none.
In
But,
the Bible, it says, it tells stories of, within the Bible itself, in the point where Moses gets the laws, they've already failed in fulfilling the laws. So it's not like whether or not the laws exist doesn't mean whether or not people will follow them.
You can't really blame them for violating the laws that they haven't been given yet.
They were given an order.
God did.
If
If God did, then I'm not going to stop blaming.
Yeah. Who am I?
Right. No, when it comes to the U.S. Constitution, I'm sorry I'm returning to that, but I think I can just as easily talk about Jewish law. But you know how the word Constitution is sometimes spelled with lowercase c and sometimes with uppercase c? And that's a point that I always wanted to make, and this is an opportunity for me to make it. So every country has a lowercase c constitution, right? Mm-hmm. United Kingdom is a great example. The United Kingdom has a constitution that is said to be unwritten. But obviously there are rules that the government of the United Kingdom follows that govern and limit the government of the United Kingdom, and that could be said to be the lowercase constitution of Great Britain. In the United States, There is also a lowercase c constitution, which are the rules that, according to which the government at various levels, including the way that judges make decisions and politicians conduct themselves. There is a lowercase c constitution. But the United States also has a written constitution, which is the uppercase constitution. And that confuses a lot of people. Because what actually matters, the way the judges actually make decisions, is not based on the written law of the Constitution, in the same way that a rabbi today is not going to decree based on the letters of the Torah. In theory, the letters of the Torah are the holiest, right? And they are more sort of closer to God, if you will, than the words of the Talmud or Shulchan Aruch or the rulings of some more recent rabbi. But in practice, today's judicial court is going to base its decisions on the more recent rulings and will basically ignore the Torah. It will, it will take very seriously the loopholes that were created over the years. In the same way, a judge in America today is rarely actually reads the words of the First Amendment. What the judge today does is it looks at recent U.S. Supreme Court decisions about the First Amendment, right? And I think it's a good analogy.
I think it's not that bad, but it is flawed. Well, first of all, the main way is that there's a centralized government in America. People can't leave and go to the other America trying to respect the same constitution and vote with their feet. Judaism doesn't have a central authority. The people who preferred the laws of this or that, or more accurately, whichever law is most conducive to long-term survival, that's the one that survived. You could argue that that's God making the decision of which law is the correct one.
But is there a single law?
Well, that's like saying, is there even a Judaism? Fixed? If it constantly changes, what would you describe as Judaism? So is Judaism? Well, I think it means, sure, things change and get corrupted. But but essentially, Jesus was right in a Jewish sense. He had the truth of the matter in a Jewish sense. These are like
right.
Just because someone's corrupt doesn't mean like they're the better interpretation of the
Would Omer agree with
Constitution or the law.
Would Omer agree with what you're saying?
Well, he wouldn't give me that this is the story happened as it did. But if we've had this argument, and if the story really did happen as it did, then the Pharisees were wrong because Judaism praises life over the Sabbath.
Oh, I see.
Right. Well, you asked about Judaism. You know the paradox of the ship of Theseus. The idea that you have a ship and you keep replacing parts of it, and ultimately all the parts were replaced. Is it the same ship or not? And I think the same can be said about Judaism. You have Judaism, and it gradually evolves, and part of the part are changed. And unlike the ship, some parts have always stayed, right? I mean, the Bible as a holy text has remained until today, but a lot of things have changed. Judaism has continuity in the same way that each of us has continuity, even as the atoms in our body and the links of our neurons change over the years. So Judaism has remained even as it's changed.
I think that's basically true, but also I'd like to add the decentralized aspect. I think that being decentralized allows you to, first of all, allows you to evolve in a correct way, in a way that is sustainable, and it slows it slows changes, because those changes need to propagate before other changes can be built upon them. That's why I think that Protestantism is closer to the original Christianity than Catholicism is. But Catholicism, maybe as an institution, is more sustainable at large. But I'm not sure about that.
I hear arguments now, like probably you're more Dad. You're probably more familiar with the history of Judaism than I am. But I hear rabbis suggest and say explicitly that Christianity has changed, but Judaism has never changed. And they're very knowledgeable, and they bring the receipts, as people like to say. I hate that analogy.
Yes, I think you'll hear Catholics say that Catholicism has never changed,
Right.
has stayed the same.
Well, I think the problem with Catholics saying that is that we have years-long records of people changing Catholicism.
Yes, and you could argue the same about Judaism, and some of the people who say that definitely know more about Catholicism than either of us. And with respect to Judaism hasn't changed, that usually means, when people say that, what they usually mean is that the Judaism that they believe in is the only one that is true to the origin, and that is why they're right and everybody else is wrong. But then if you have more than one person with different perspective of Judaism saying the same, making the same statement, at least one of them is wrong,
Yeah,
right?
but you argue
you're suggesting that there are differences between the different. So there is the
but there
saying
are obviously differences.
No. So there's differences of opinions about meanings of things, but we all are in agreement that there are 113 laws and we should obey them.
Yeah, it's never
No.
been
How to obey them? No. The devil is in the detail. How do you obey those laws? There is a huge difference on how you obey those laws, right?
Yeah.
For instance, and I'll come back to something that touches on politics, which is the huge chasm between the religious Jews that celebrate the settlement of the land of Israel and the formation of the state of Israel and see it as the beginning of our salvation, and the Turei Karta that think that the state of Israel is evil and the work of the devil, right? So I don't know exactly about which of the 613 laws pertain to the settlement of Israel, but obviously those have very, very different opinion about what those laws mean.
Yeah. Well, my issue isn't. I know that if two people have different opinions, one of them has to be wrong if there is an objective truth. But you argued that no one is right. Why do you think that?
True for the subjective?
No, I didn't argue that nobody is right. No. But I never argued that Judaism is either uniform either in space or in time. In other words, I never claimed that there is a single truth or a single moral core to Judaism, nor have I claimed that that moral core of Judaism has stayed the same over time. I think okay. Judaism has always been diverse, and the diverse mix that is Judaism has evolved and continues to evolve.
Dad, did you know that in the world, at any point, there is always going to be two antipode points with the exact same pressure and temperature?
Absolutely.
That assumes, of course, that it's continuous.
Continuous.
Yeah. I will say that I think there is an element of Judaism which is arguably the most. Sorry, finish what you were saying.
I was saying that if Judaism is continuous, then at least one person is practicing the original Judaism.
No, that doesn't hold because Judaism is not compact, unlike the surface of Earth, which is compact.
That's up for debate.
There are elements of Judaism that I think that have always existed and are like the main cores of the religion that are the same. So God is one, Elohim Echad, and which is actually a very original idea. And very unique for its time.
Except they borrowed it from the Egyptians. But
the Egyptians had one god.
There was a period during which.
But I think that it was
they only worshiped one god.
Wasn't it the Hyksos invaders that did that? And I thought those were Jews, no?
No, and the other thing is that when you say there is only one God, does Christianity believe in one God or the Trinity?
Trinity.
How do you see that?
They'll say one.
So
but
long as they
have to
say
wait for it.
that they believe in one God, I choose to believe them and that we're worshiping the same person.
Okay. Well, the Bible certainly doesn't say there is one God. What the Bible says is that Jews ought to only worship the one God, this specific God. But the Bible is full of depictions of other gods.
No, it's not. That's a misinterpretation. I don't think that's. It's full of depictions of forces that people call gods, but that's.
The commandment.
But there's only one God.
The commandment says you would have no other gods before me. It doesn't say no other gods exist. But the commandment is in Genesis. I think that Deuteronomy already holds that there is only one God.
Sorry?
I was submitting that in Genesis, they do acknowledge the existence of other gods. But I think that by Deuteronomy, they already stick to there only being one God.
Oh, well, you know that the Bible wasn't written chronologically. It's not that Deuteronomy was written before Joshua and Joshua
No, but
was
Deuteronomy
written
was
before
written
the
after
prophets.
the rest.
Yes. So Deuteronomy indeed holds that there is only one good, but that's because it's a very late book. The early books in the Bible are full of depictions of multiple gods, and archaeology and literary analysis and so on show that even the God that Jews ultimately ended up living in is actually a conglomeration of multiple gods that were worshipped by different people at different times. Even the word.
First of all, it's just a bunch of people that realized all the gods they were worshiping were actually just one guy.
Okay, but the point is that they believe at an earlier point in their understanding of the world, they believed that there were multiple gods. So Judaism had multiple gods, and over time has evolved into first having a preferred God, then saying you should only worship that one God, and then much later that the other gods don't exist. But even then, if you think about the Kabbalah, about the Jewish mysticism, you'll see that there are a lot of creatures that are godlike,
That's
supernatural
not canonical.
creatures, right?
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
a fiction.
Well, maybe not,
a
but
fiction
it's part of
writer writes.
Judaism.
No. If a fiction writer writes like a fictional story about Jesus, is that a Bible? Is that a part of the Bible now? Just because it has the character of Jesus in it?
Mitnagdim
It's,
will really accept what you're saying. Right?
Jews today act as if, or many Jews today, act as if there are many supernatural forces or creatures or beings
That's
in the
fine.
world.
They'll be small.
That's
Right? The Bible has that. You remember the story of Job and how the devil came and spoke to God and had a bet with him and all of that. The devil is not a person. The devil is a supernatural being. So the Bible is full of supernatural beings, not just the people believe in them, but the Bible recognizes the existence of many supernatural beings. Today's Judaism, so I don't think the monotheism, strict monotheism, is true of today's Judaism. I don't think most Jews today believe in multiple gods. However, unlike Islam that believed that was monotheistic from the get-go, Judaism, being a much more ancient religion, started as a polytheistic religion and over time became monotheistic.
The most divergent Jewish sect is the Karaites. Okay? Mm-hmm. Anything earlier, Samaritans aren't considered Jewish. Okay? What we all have in common is the Torah. And the Torah was finished with Deuteronomy. Okay? Before that, that's pre-Judaism. That's not Judaism. Once there's the Torah, once there's Deuteronomy, once there's monotheism, that's Judaism.
Maybe. That's semantics, maybe. And that's fine. So you could say, but then you have to ask yourself, all right, if we decide that the starting point, the starting line of Judaism is when the last books of the Bible were written, right? Then I ask you, then I'm willing to concede that with that definition, Judaism has always been monotheistic.
Lots of people would argue
but
that
then
Judaism
I will ask,
is much older than it actually is.
Yes, but then the other question is, okay, so other than being monotheistic, what else, what other characteristic of Judaism has stayed stable from the last books of the Bible being written until today?
You
Man is
can't
made
eat
in God's
kids
image.
his mother, can't cook a kid in his mother's milk.
Well, again, these are words, but how these words are understood, interpreted, and followed has changed dramatically
Yeah,
over the
but
years.
Yeah, but
it is
even
only,
within the Bible, like I said, within the Bible, Jews do not follow the laws as God is giving them the laws. So does that mean those laws
Right, but
and,
the question is-
that definition of what is a good law and like what is the definition of a law
this
changes
is
because
really
the people
similar
in the
to
story don't follow?
I had an argument online about like natural rights, and people say that natural rights don't exist. But that's
Okay.
a silly point because natural rights are an abstract concept. They exist by virtue of being defined. You can either
Right.
respect or not respect natural laws. In exactly the same way, Judaism, just because they're Kabbalistic people who believe in silly stuff, that doesn't mean that Judaism is polytheistic.
Okay, so what does, how do we know? So that again applies to the natural law as well as to Judaism. So if we cannot rely on the letter of
No,
the
no,
Torah,
no. We can rely
right?
on the letter of the Torah. What we can't rely on is the interpretation of the letters of the Torah.
Well, no. What I mean is the plain meaning. Okay, in law there is the concept of the plain meaning of the statute or of the law. If we cannot rely on the plain meaning of the words of the Torah, and we have to rely on later interpretation, how do we know which later interpretation is the correct one?
Well, the one that God chooses.
Yes. How do we know which one good?
I choose the Barr and Jordan Peterson definition of how God chooses.
Well,
Yes, that's fine for
evolutionarily
you.
true. What God chooses is the thing that survives.
Yeah.
Right, but if more than one thing survives, how do we know which of the
Give it
different
enough
things
time.
that
One of
survive
them
Yeah,
will
wait.
not survive.
Wait, one of them won't.
Okay, so we might know at some point in the future, but today, how can we tell which of the different opinions that have survived so far?
You guys know
Well,
the
mine, of
South
course.
Park episode? You
Sorry?
guys know the South Park episode where everybody goes to hell? Well, I actually don't remember that correctly. But the people got to heaven, and then apparently it was the Mormons that were right, and everybody else goes to hell, and only the Mormons go to heaven. Yeah,
Oh, I like have you seen the Good Place? In The Good Place, they have this one guy that nobody has ever heard of, but everybody, all the angels and all
Oh,
the demons
yeah.
worship because he is the only guy that ever
you
got
it and
things
everything.
right.
Yeah, I remember that. I really hate that joke because the guy...
That guy isn't you.
Because the guy... Well, first of all, it isn't me. It's a representative of me. It's not me.
Right.
Second, many people don't remember this, but on the first episode, the black guy, he was French. He spoke French. But they forgot about
Uh-huh.
it. They just like hadn't speak
Okay.
English in the continuance of the show. That really bothered me.
Anyway, so there is the same thing holds with respect to natural law or objective morality. You can argue that there is objective morality. The point is that it remains an abstract concept because there is no objective way of telling what
Wait,
the objective morality is. It is just as open to interpretation as
Okay,
is
first of
subjective
all,
morality.
no, we already told you the objective way to find out. We wait, whichever survives, that's the correct one.
No, that's fine. But
Right
right,
now,
now,
that's true.
as of right
But
now,
even
there's no way.
Once we determine it, even if I did show you now an objective way of determining it, it would still be an abstract concept.
The point is not that it's an abstract concept. It's an indeterminable abstract
but
concept.
you know that things that
When it comes, I mean,
indeterminable aren't like still are true. There are
No,
real
that's fine.
things
It's
that
like
are indeterminable.
That's true, but they're not very practical. So the thing about morality and compare that to mathematics, right? in mathematics is full of abstract concepts. Mathematics is
It's the whole
built entirely on abstract concept. It's the whole thing, right? However, once you agree on certain axioms and rules of logic, which by and large most mathematicians agree on, then they can all agree that certain conclusions follow from the combination of axioms and rules of logic. Whereas when and that means that people actually rely successfully on mathematical theorems in practical life. Now, morality could have great practical implications. However, since we cannot, see what's going to happen in the future, objective morality is useless if there is no incontrovertible way of determining what
No. We also have the past. We don't just need to rely on the future.
Yeah, we have the past. We can see what, like, the sort of laws, the sort of morality that people respect that's conducive to success, like Judaism.
Right. So first of all, you're making morality instrumental rather than fundamental. So you're really saying what's right is what leads to success, and that is not a bad statement to make. I'm not necessarily going to argue with it, but it's an assumption. You can call it an axiom.
But you have an axiom of so the good is human flourishing. For instance, that's like the same thing as the hierarchy of that you can find in Judaism. When you say that men are made in God's image and the earth is for them. So that's basically the concept of human flourishing being at the pinnacle. And then how do you achieve that? That's not as easy to figure out. But there is an axiom that we can agree on. And then we can work around figuring out the details.
Well, not everybody agrees. So certainly environmentalists, for instance, that would disagree.
They're suicidal
man is at the pinnacle of creation.
Yeah, but
maybe, but being suicidal is fine.
They will die. Wait.
They will die.
And we'll see who survives.
Well, these people don't reproduce applies to most of Earth's population today.
And most of them won't survive.
Except for the Jews and arguably the Protestants.
Yeah, it's
the Mormons.
That's exactly the point.
Dad, can you mute yourself?
Ariana's going to have to come up and wait in here.
Just.
It's funny that we went back to the, where was it? He mentioned something that we were talking about when he was gone.
Objective morality, or?
No, I think it was just before that.
Well,
something about religion.
I think we
spoke about religion for a while before that.
Yeah, that's a relatively consistent point of talking. Oh, let's finish with this. So we talked about the pros of the U.S.-American alliance. What are the cons?
The Israel-American alliance. U.S. and American is pretty good. I think it will remain. The cons?
Right.
For America, it's like the money they have to give to Israel. We don't like that. And it's the liability. Lots of dad argued that like all the Arabs hate America because of Israel. Though I would argue the opposite. I would argue they hate Israel because of America.
I don't know about that. I think they hate us both naturally.
No, I think that like the reason that they hate Israel is because it's a representative of America. It's Western values. If we were Middle Eastern like them, they wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't mind because we're uppity and not Arab Islamists.
I apologize. Who are we talking about?
We were just pivoting to the disadvantages of the Israel-America alliance.
Right. And who is it that hates Israel because they hate America?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, was that you would argue that the reason that they hate America is because of Israel. But I would argue the exact opposite.
Yes.
I think that they hate Israel because of America.
Right, and they don't hate Israel because of what
No.
Israel has done to the Palestinians.
No. What the Israel has done is the
Assad did
Palestinians
much-
because they hate us.
Assad did much worse to the Syrians, and they don't hate like the Alawites as much as they hate Israel, right?
Well, they kill a lot of
They do,
Alawites, but
yeah, that's true.
and they don't hate Israel, and they don't hate Israel because Israel is full of Jews, and
No,
they're
I
anti-Semitic.
agree.
Because that's another
agree.
explanation.
I don't think it's the truth. I
So
think
which is
it's
it?
The representatives of the West. They don't like the West. They think that the West is
Is a woman to be mounted.
they. That's funny. No, I think that the West reminds them that they used to be the pinnacle of civilization, and now they're not.
Right, but I mean, Egypt. I mean, most of the Arab world, and certainly most of the Muslim world, is aligned with the West. Right, anyone from Morocco to Egypt and Jordan to Saudi Arabia to Turkey to
That took
Malaysia.
a lot of wars.
These are all
Yeah,
Muslim
but
countries.
they're
Yes,
they're
it doesn't matter
They
today.
don't-
Right now, they're all aligned with the West.
That's true. They're
and they continue to hate. They like the United States, but they hate Israel. And the main criticism they have of the United States is that it supports Israel.
No, they don't like the United States. They really hate the United States. They just need them for lines.
They're willing to, have American bases on their land. They're not willing to have Israeli bases
Poor
on their
people.
land. If you look at Saudi Arabia,
Because America, if
or
they say no
Turkey.
to America, America can just force them. They can just put the military bases there anyway. So they'd much rather just
No.
have an agreement with them. Israel is still a little
the
weak.
United States doesn't have. Is there any country in the world, other than Iraq maybe, or Syria, where the United States has a military base without the agreement of the government?
No, but that's because the other government was collapsed by the United States.
Okay, so also one of the historic anecdotes that I think was very favored by one of the many people that you boycott, which is Dave Smith, is that when at the end of the First World War, when the question of the mandate of colonial forces over the Middle East came up, the Arabs really, really wanted the mandate to be given to the United States. Well, they wanted independence, but if it was given to anybody, they much preferred the United States over Britain and France, right? The Arabs haven't always hated
I didn't
the
say
United
that they hate the
States.
United States.
That-
I said that they hate the West, Western civilization.
Right, except they adopt Western values, Western symbols. I don't know. I don't see any evidence to anything
I
that you're
mean,
saying.
That's just okay. Never mind. Anyways, what I'm
Shouting
saying is,
death to America seems like reasonable
so
evidence.
the advantage that people like that would say that America gains from discontinuing the alliance is like the favorability of all the Islamic world. They wouldn't hate America as much, though I don't agree.
Yes, well, or at all, or at all.
Well, I think more than that, it's when I think the biggest pro for America to disconnect from Israel is the people take on these arguments as though they were the parties involved. So Americans are unnecessary. I don't know if necessarily if this would completely go away. It might take a few generations, but
You're saying that the Israeli relationship is divisive.
yes.
The relation with Israel is divisive within American society. I asked for myself the following thought experiment, right? If the relationship between the United States and Israel was severed, right? How much worse off would the United States be versus how much worse off Israel would be? And I think that the United States would be marginally worse off in some ways and arguably much better off in other ways. Whereas Israel is probably going to be much worse off in the short term, and probably even worse off.
Okay, so
I would agree
I
with
disagree.
that unless you if you just flip the last one. I
Yeah.
think that in the short term, yeah, it's going to be rough, but if Israel isn't destroyed, then it will be much stronger in the long term.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like any charity. When you grow to rely on it, you become weaker.
Exactly.
Your
That's
muscles
what I was
atrophy.
going to
I-
argue. The reason that Israel, the advantages of discontinuing the alliance, is like in the short term, it hurts because they contributed a lot, but in the long term, you get stronger because you learn to live without them.
Yeah.
Right, but you both are thinking only about money and economic
No.
support, and that I think is the least
That's not
important
what I'm
thing.
thinking
Yeah, not at
Let's. Okay, so why don't you both address the question of the diplomatic umbrella that the United States gives Israel, and what would be the consequence if the United States stopped vetoing Security Council
Let's see.
resolutions
What
against
happened
Israel?
to Israel in '48 when they didn't do that?
No, in 48 they supported it, right? So the United States recognized Israel minutes after.
But
It
they did have
wasn't the
an
first. The
arms
Soviet Union was the
embargo on
first.
Israel, right?
Yes, but I'm not talking about arms embargo. I'm talking about an economic. I'm talking about Security Council resolution. So,
So
if
what you're arguing is that
variety
the
of
UN
if
had a determining factor in the '48 war?
no, the United Nations was not a factor, but I'm saying that the United Nations could be a factor
In what
today
way?
if if Security Council resolutions against Israel were not vetoed by the United States, and it's easy to tell what they are because they were proposed, right? So there were many resolutions that were vetoed by the United States. In fact, probably many of those resolutions were watered down to try to avoid American veto. And if there was no American veto, then harsh regime of sanctions against Israel could easily come up, just like there was against South
Yeah.
Africa.
Well, that's a mechanism.
So it's not
Yeah.
just that the
That's
United
a mechanism where which is the
Yes.
U.S. helps us. Sure, let's say. I don't know to what extent the UN genuinely has power.
Yeah, they don't.
But let's say that
no, the US, the
that
UN,
is one of the muscles that we must get better at negotiating and dealing with. That is not necessarily a meaning that we can't Israel can't survive it.
I'm a little confused, by the way, Gil. Who are you talking about? We.
No,
I thought you
Israel.
were an
Yeah, my
American.
mistake. It's just a old habit. Yeah.
Yes. So I think best case scenario, I think it's quite likely that the relation between the United States and Israel will cool down. I think the best case outcome for that is an analogy to South Africa, that where the international pressure led eventually to the end of apartheid. I think if in Israel, if something, hold on. So I'm saying there is definitely the hope that international pressure on Israel, without an American umbrella to protect it, if the United Nations Security Council, not the General Assembly, the General Assembly doesn't have any power, but the Security Council
what power?
does. And just like they can impose sanctions, and the governments of the world respect
I
those
just want to
sanctions. The sanctions
correct
on
that,
Iran.
okay? It may seem like that, but actually who holds power is America. The only reason the UN holds any power is because America sanctions it.
But we are talking about a scenario in which the United States no longer
Yeah,
supports
but
Israel.
they're still
Right. So-
supporting the UN. They still control the world, right?
No, they don't control the world. They don't even control Iran or the Strait of Hormuz. They certainly don't control Russia. They certainly don't control China. They don't. They control.
Wait.
They don't
Why
control the
doesn't
world. But let's say-
China, Iran, and Russia kill Israel right now? Why don't Russia,
Sorry?
China, and Iran?
Because they don't control. Because they don't control the world. Because no single
But the
country
UN
controls
does?
the world. They don't control the world. No, the United Nations Security Council, right, has decisions that are respected by all its members.
I
The
doubt it.
reason why the
Yeah,
United
I think
States
that they respect America, and America backs the UN. That's why they respect the decision.
that's fine. But if the United States doesn't veto the reason the United States, the permanent members, but specifically the United States, has veto power is that so that there is never a conflict between a Security Council resolution and the will of any of the nuclear powers. There are other nuclear powers, but those ones. Okay. However, if the United Nations cools towards Israel, and the United States supports a sanction against Israel, then, as you said, the combination of those five powers certainly will cause sanctions on Israel. If Israel faces sanctions that are similar to Iran, will that cause Israel to compromise on its, desire to take over the West Bank, for instance?
No, they don't desire to take over the West Bank. If they did, they would already have. But did it stop Iran?
Well, they're in process of doing that.
Did they stop?
Sorry?
Did it stop Iran? The sanctions.
Iran is a little incomparable because
it-
Iran is big. Iran can survive on its own, whereas Israel can't.
Also, Iran is not a democracy. So it's quite possible that if there was a democracy in Iran, the majority of the people would have said, you know what, we'll give up on A, B, and C
Yeah.
so that
But
to
You're
get
giving
that's where
democracy
I
a lot
think
of
that
credit here.
There's really something important that I don't know if you're neglecting or you're just not believing me. The majority of Israelis don't want to take over the West Bank or control the West Bank or keep the occupation for religious or ethnic reasons. They believe that giving up those
No, they
things
just-
will have them killed. It doesn't matter how much sanctions you put on a person, he's not going to elect to be killed.
Okay, fair enough. We have a couple of minutes. So I think you're right that if Israelis continue to believe that the only way they can not be killed is by continuing the policies that they have in the West Bank, then they will probably continue the policies that they have in the West Bank regardless. What will happen is brain drain, right? So anybody that, because the situation in Israel will become so much worse economically that the drivers behind the economic engine of Israel will start.
Listen,
Luckily,
there's
the people-
already a brain drain, but still there are people who manage to survive, and you're not giving them any agency at all. I mean, you're suggesting that there will be problems, and there's no one will come up with solutions. Sure, there will be problems.
No. I think the solution will be to leave Israel. That is the solution. I am giving them agency. I think the easiest way, the most common way, I'm not saying 100%, but the most common way that they will use their agency
Sure,
is to say,
but
fuck it.
it was easier to stay in Europe, or
or
it was easier to escape to the U.S. Or there's lots of things that are easier, and yet people do the hard thing anyway.
Yeah, the people that did the hard,
Some do,
the
and 6
people that
million
did the
don't.
hard thing, the people that did the easy thing, right now they're not procreating. The people in Israel are procreating. There will be people in Israel and they'll be okay.
Right. All right, guys. The time is up. I'm apologize again for
It's okay. It was a
leaving
really
for a
nice
while.
conversation.
I will, but now I have a reason to listen to the podcast, so I'll do that to
Okay,
find
let
out
me
what I
know
missed.
So
what
you
it
don't
was you
usually
were-
listen.
Okay.
Because you brought up something that we mentioned when you weren't there, and I forgot about it. Okay, so note that and let me know what it was.
Now you have a reason to listen.
Okay.
No, I'm not. It's an hour and a half. I don't have time.
All right.
I listen in 3 times speed,
Have a good week, and we'll talk to you
and then
next
it's only
week.
half an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
Very well.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.